Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing well. As you can see, I have the 365 Days of Art prompt book here, and this is supposed to be a creative exercise for every day of the year, and it's by Lorna Scooby. And let's just say I have not worked on this every single day. The last time I actually touched this book was back in October of 2024, so it's been a while, as you can see. I only have a few pages done here, and absolutely nothing on this side, but we're going to change that today. So let's go ahead and dive into our first prompt, which is going to be number 15. And it says, find a pattern that inspires you. It could be in a magazine, on paper, or fabric. Stick it here if you can, or draw it. So the pattern that inspired me came from this Winnie the Pooh book that we thrifted, which I thought was pretty cool since it came with a CD with 4 different shows on it. And I just really like the look of this pattern here. I thought it was a really cute design, and I think I'm going to go with this blue one here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side so I can use it for my reference. And then I'm going to get a piece of paper to put under this because I'm going to be using acrylic markers. So I'm not too sure if there will be any bleed through. But I have used watercolor in this book and I didn't have any issues with that. So personally, I think that the quality of this paper is pretty dang good and should hold up because it is a lot thicker than most other papers that I've used in other prompt books. So I think it'll be fine. Anyways, I'm going to go in with a medium shade of blue for the background. Unfortunately, my marker set doesn't have that exact shade of blue that's in the book, but we can still manage to get a similar look, so it's no biggie. Also, I don't have a light enough blue for the lines either, so I'm just going to go in with my white because I do feel like once it dries, some of that blue will come through, giving it the look that I'm going for. And I am trying to make these lines a little more opaque, but it looks like I'm going to have to let them dry first and then go back in with a second layer. Also, I am trying very hard to create straight lines, but I feel like as I continue, my lines are just going to become more and more crooked. So I think I'm just going to use this piece of paper to help guide me. A roller would work a lot better, but for some of you that have seen a certain past video of mine, I can't remember exactly which video it was, but if you remember, then you'll know that the last time I used it, it was in pretty rough condition and was snapped in half, so I eventually stopped hoarding it and threw it away. And I just haven't gotten a new one, so this piece of paper will have to do for now. Okay, well, my lines aren't perfect, but they could be worse. Now I'm going to go ahead and select a darker shade of blue to start creating the little designs here. And I'm just going to try my best to draw them as carefully as I can because although the brush tip does have a fairly fine tip, you still have to be very careful and light-handed with it because if you press a little too much, then those lines will become thicker. It definitely would have been easier to use colored pencils, but they would not write on the paint, so I didn't really have much of a choice. So I'm sure some of my lines will be a little thicker than planned, but that's okay. Anyways, if you look at the design here, you can see that the lighter blue is used for the wings and center of the body, and yellow for the outsides of the body. So let's go ahead and color those in. And I'm just going to quickly touch up the outlines and add the eye back in. And another reason why those pencils would have come in handy is because now I have to try to use this marker to create these little bitty tiny lines here. So we'll see how that goes. And now to quickly add the date. And we are officially done with this one. My lines did become much thicker like I had expected, but despite that, I still think it turned out to be a cute design. Anyways, the next prompt that we are going to be working on is number 126, and it says, create a design on this rug. So I have this book of botanic scrapbook paper, and it has all these different designs on them, and I'll go ahead and do a quick flip through for you. There are 12 different designs, and then it just repeats the design again, and then at the very end there's a few glitter papers as well. So I'm going to go ahead and look through them and see which ones I think would be best. I did like this blue one and thought maybe it would be fun to use my gold gel pen to trace the lines around these petals and then maybe add some gold around the border. I also really liked this one, and I thought it could be fun if maybe I use this twine and cut it into a bunch of small pieces to use as the fringe for the edges of the rug. I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, but I am going to separate the twine. That way I can make sure that I have enough for the entire rug. So let's go ahead and start cutting away. All right, now that I have all of the pieces, I'm going to go ahead and set them aside and get the paper ripped out. And I'm just going to quickly measure my paper to make sure that I have the right size to fit on the rug. And I'm also going to use my little paper cutter here just to make sure that I'm getting my lines as straight as I can. And don't mind me, I'm just struggling to see my pencil markings. I probably should have made them a little bit bigger, but I got it. Now let's go ahead and flip this over and start attaching all of our little strings. And I'm just going to use a glue stick to do this. Probably not the best choice, but we're going to do it anyway. And honestly, I probably made things a little bit harder on myself by peeling the twine apart into two separate pieces, because after cutting it, it's really starting to fall apart on me and making a mess everywhere. But let's just go ahead and get the rest of these glued on, and then I'll deal with that afterwards. Okay, now I can go ahead and get rid of this paper, which I clearly kind of glued it to my main paper, but thankfully it didn't rip anything. And of course, I gotta clean up all these little pieces. And I do wish I would have made the paper a little bit longer so I couldn't see the black lines underneath it, but oh well. It was just a very simple and quick project, which is really nice to do sometimes. Now just to add the date. And moving on to our third prompt, which is going to be number 158, and it says, create some watercolor or paint splodges. What could they become? A creature? A pattern? So for this one, I'm going to be going in with my Artistro watercolor paints, which clearly have been used a lot because they're looking pretty messy. And then I'm also going to go in with these acrylic spray paints to create some extra splatter. And I'm going to add some thick watercolor paper under this because this one might actually bleed through the page, because it does say use a lot of water on your brush, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I really wish this page didn't already have these splatter marks on it, because now I feel like I have to use those colors to make it go together, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but we'll see what I can come up with. So let's go ahead and load this paper up with a bunch of water. And of course, I'm going to go in with some different shades of green and just splot them all around the page. And I'll probably just try to cover up those pre-made splots as best as I can. I really don't have much of a plan for this page except for just mixing watercolor and acrylic spray paints together to see what happens. It'll actually be really interesting to see how they look together, because if you've seen my past video where I tested these spray paints, you'll know that they dry much darker than what they look like when they're wet. So this will be a fun little experiment. And I'm gonna get super messy with it and pour spots all over the page. So I would say this is gonna be a really good test for this book to see how well it really holds up to liquids. And as you can see, I am adding some blues to this, and maybe I can come up with some kind of water scene or something. I don't really know, but it is starting to pool up in the center, so I'm gonna take a paper towel to try to soak it up a bit. And art is all about experimenting, so let's just go ahead and close the book on it and see what happens. Well, I think it made this page look really cool, but yeah, it definitely pulled up a lot more of the color on the main page than I thought. So let's go ahead and add some more. And I am gonna take a paper towel to blot it to add some more texture and to let it dry a bit and then go in with some gold. Okay, well, I'm still not 100% sure what I'm gonna do with this, but I am gonna let it dry and think about some ideas. So now that it's all dry, I stared at it for quite a while trying to come up with some unique ideas, but the only thing I could really see is this spot right here. I feel like it kind of looks like a fish. And initially I wasn't a fan of these two spots here, but now I kind of wish I wouldn't have covered them up so much because now I feel like those could be used for lily pads. So yeah, I think that's the route that I'm gonna go with because I've got nothing else. And I'm just gonna go straight in with my fine liner here because if I did a pencil sketch, I wouldn't be able to erase the lines anyways without it pulling up the watercolor. So I'm just gonna wing it. It's probably not the best idea to use a pen on something that I don't think I've ever drawn before. Unless I drew a fish as a kid, but I don't recall. But we'll just consider this to be an exercise of letting go of perfection. Which you can clearly see that I already accidentally messed up that line and it's just getting thicker and thicker, and I have a feeling that it's going to be a reoccurring problem during this, but that's okay. So normally I really do enjoy creating a sketchy art piece, which I had done some of that in this video right here if you feel like checking that one out after this. I'll go ahead and add it to the end of this video for those of you who are interested. But yeah, I just really wasn't feeling it for this. I would say that this was by far my least favorite project that I've done in a long time. I do find it hard to let go of that perfectionism, and it's hard for me not to want to throw away anything that I don't really like. But I just carried on and tried to trust the process with this in the hopes that it would turn out better than it was looking. Because usually that is how it works with art. There's always that ugly stage and then it usually gets better at the end. But you win some and you lose some. And unfortunately, this one was a loss for me. I do think that if I wouldn't have accidentally made the line so thick that I probably would have liked it a lot more. But that's definitely on me for going in with a pen. I mean, I knew there was a chance that this could happen, and I still chose to do it. So I really can't be that upset about it. And again, it really is a great exercise to do if you struggle with perfectionism. And I do feel like there are a lot of fellow artists on YouTube that have actually really helped me to get better at accepting the fact that I can't always make perfect art and that I shouldn't just throw every piece of art away that I don't like. Because it is important to be able to look back on it and to try again and find ways to improve and learn from it. And I hope by me sharing pieces that I'm not always proud of will also help some of you with that as well. Anyways, let's add that date to this one too and get my mess cleaned up. And here's the final piece. I tried my best, but let's go ahead and move on to our next prompt, which is number 241, which says, draw an animal from life. Animals are great subjects as they don't mind being drawn. They do tend to move around a lot, so practice working quickly and try to draw the key information and characteristics. Okay, so I'm going to break the rules a little bit, and I'm just going to use a reference photo to draw the animal that I want. And the animal I'm going to be drawing is actually one that our daughter has been begging us to get her for quite a while, and we finally decided to give in. So I would like to introduce you to our new baby bunny, and his name is Bon Jovi. If you know, you know. He is such a sweet and cuddly boy, and we have just really loved having him be a part of our little family. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump back to the prompt. And the reference photo that I'm going to be using for this sketch is going to be this picture here. Now, I may not be able to make it look exactly the same, but I'll try my best. And I am going to speed this up because it did take me a good hour and a half to sketch and color this in. Also, we are first-time bunny owners, so for any of you who do or have had a bunny before, if you have any tips or advice, I would love to hear any of them, so feel free to leave any kind of comments down below that you think would be helpful for us, because we would really appreciate it. Okay, now that my sketch is done, I'm going to use my eraser to lighten up my pencil lines. And then I'm going to use colored pencils for this. And I'm going to be using a black colored pencil and 3 different shades of tan, and I'll also be using a white charcoal pencil because that one works a lot better than the basic white pencil that my set came with. And then I'll just alternate between all of them to create his fur. And now just for the final touches, I'm gonna go in with my white gel pen to bring in a little bit more highlights and to create his little whiskers. And of course I'm gonna try to add that little piece of hay that he had in his mouth. It's a little hard to see because it does blend in with his color, but we all know what I was going for. Okay, I think he looks pretty good, but in the picture he is sitting and I kind of made it look like he was laying down, but that's okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our 5th prompt, which is going to be number 339. And it says, write down a time when someone made a positive comment about your creativity. Immediately, all I could think about was all of the kind and thoughtful comments that all of you left me on my Pantone Challenge collaboration video. So I wanted to print them out so I could glue them in my book as a little dedication to all of you. Not only for all of the supportive comments, but for those of you who show support through subscribing and liking, and even just watching my videos, because all of you motivate me to continue to want to share my art with others. And I just wanted to say thank you. So truly, thank you for your support and choosing to continue to join me as I grow as an artist and a content creator. And I'm not really sure if I managed to get all of your lovely comments printed out. I'm pretty sure I did get them all, or at least pieces of them. But if I didn't get yours on there, I do sincerely apologize. You know, as you can see, I really didn't have a whole lot of room to work with. I did try to shrink them down as much as I could, and I even covered that second prompt below because these comments just mean so much more to me than filling out that prompt. And with that being said, this one is completely done, and we can now move on to our last prompt, which is number 360. And it says, draw a scene, but instead of drawing the objects themselves, focus on the negative space around them. You may want to very roughly draw your composition in pencil first, but really concentrate on the space and angles around your objects. Look at shapes in between the lines rather than lines themselves. So for this one, I'm also going to really speed up the sketch process because it's probably going to be a little hard for you to really see what I'm sketching anyways. But I am going to sketch out an octopus because I kind of want to go with more of that Van Gogh style, and I feel like the curls of the octopus's tentacles will work really well with that. And honestly, I don't even know why I'm taking the time to add the suction cups on all of the tentacles, because there's a pretty good chance that they'll just get covered up anyways with them being such small details, but oh well. And now I'm going to go in with acrylic markers to get that brushstroke look. And I'm going to be using 3 different shades of purple, starting with the darkest shade on the inside closest to the octopus. And right now I'm just trying to cover up those pencil lines, but as I work my way out, I'll start adding in those lighter shades of purple, blending them together a little bit. And then I'll start adding my blues, starting with the lightest shade and darkening it up as I reach the edges of the page. And I actually really like doing this kind of style of drawing / painting because I feel like it's a pretty relaxing thing to do that doesn't really take a lot of effort at all, but yet it still creates a really fun look. I even think this would be a really fun and easy craft for kids to do, because you could just cut out a stencil of their favorite animal or object, and then they just create a bunch of dashes around it, and those dashes don't even need to look perfect, because if you look at mine, my lines are all kinds of different sizes, and yet it still ends up giving a fun look. Also, you don't even have to use paint or markers if you don't have those things. You can literally do this with any medium, and I bet you they would end up really liking it. Now I'm going to add some blue dots all around the page as a base for where I'm going to start applying yellow circles to bring out that Van Gogh style just a little bit more. And now we're done with this page. So we created a fun Van Gogh octopus themed drawing, focusing on the negative space around it. And then we created a page inspired by all of you and all of the kind words that you have left me. We also created a page based on Bon Jovi, which I'm actually going to quickly write his name down before I forget. Okay, and then we also created a page where we took watercolor and paint and splashed it all around the page, which there's really just not much to say about this one, so let's just go ahead and move along to the next one, where we created a rug using twine and scrapbook paper. And I think if this rug was real, it would actually look really cute in a safari-themed nursery. Anyways, lastly, we also created a cute pattern inspired by a Winnie the Pooh book, and now I can actually go cross off 6 more numbers on our activities completed page. And if you ended up enjoying this video and want to see me complete more of these prompts, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Anyways, I really hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!